Brian Rist is, but I still want to give him an introduction. So he is the founder of the Rist DifferenceMaker Institute. Him and his wife, Kim, gave a substantial donation to DifferenceMaker to establish the Rist DifferenceMaker Institute to support student entrepreneurship, which is what you're all involved in through this boot camp. He's also the successful founder and CEO of StormSmart, which is based in Florida. And him and his wife Kim also established a foundation to help other entrepreneurial organizations. They're still involved in StormSmart. They help other colleges and support students as well. So today is going to be very discussion based. So Brian, let's give Brian a big round of applause
So now I have to try to follow that all up. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I do have some notes that we can talk about and those things here, but really what I'd love to do as we go along, and at any time during the discussion is just raise your hand. I'll try to answer any question, every question that you might have. I'll start by saying, here, I'm probably one of the luckiest people you'll ever meet. For more than almost 26 years, I got to do something I truly loved every single day and worked with a group of just amazing people and just grew a business together. And I'll explain how that all worked out and some of the good and bad things of it all. But it really was doing something that I really truly loved. But it really all started by being where you guys are today. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I really believe that some of the lessons I learned here on this campus had everything to do with our eventual success. Today I get to live an amazing life. I am still involved in StormSmart, and maybe I should start with that. StormSmart is a Southwest Florida-based company that's involved in hurricane protection. And it started out with just me and a couple of my friends, and we were trying to do something in the beginning to get a job. And then it started to work and started to grow. And it really, today, it's the largest company in the hurricane protection business in the world. And today, even though we don't own the majority of it anymore, employs about 330 people right now. But it started out with just an idea, and me and a friend and another, there was three of us that started the whole thing, and we just had this vision of there had to be a better way to protect homes from hurricanes. It all kind of spun out of Hurricane Andrew and all the damages that Andrew caused. And I saw the devastation, and I saw the heartache that it was caused by all these people losing their house and losing their life by a hurricane. And I just knew there had to be a better way. And we started out just trying to inspect houses and how to protect them against hurricanes. But eventually we started developing products. And then we one day came up with this idea of using a fabric as a hurricane protection device. And today it's the most popular method of protecting homes and businesses from hurricanes. We call it Storm Catcher, but it's really just using a fabric to protect homes rather than using a piece of plywood or a metal or something like that that's rigid, and did it, which was kind of odd because when I went here, I went to school for business. I started out as an engineering student, but I went to school for business, and at that time, it was just, Lowell was kind of just finishing up with being Lowell Textile Institute. And it was just ironic because I didn't study textiles here, but I did draw upon some of the people here when we were developing products. But we pioneered the idea of using a fabric as a hurricane protection device. And then along the way, we realized there was so many other uses we could do with that product and do some different things. But it all started out with trying to figure out a way to make homes in Florida safer from hurricanes. And that's kind of really what I'd like to talk a little bit about here today is in business, to kind of steal something from Simon Sinek, it starts with why. Why are you doing it? You'll find out that people don't care what you know until they know why you do it. And if the reason you're starting a business is to make a lot of money, I'm sorry to tell you that probably won't be sustainable. It can't just be about trying to make a lot of money. although you obviously have to make money, because that's what it takes to make a business grow and pay your people and do all those things, but it really has to be something else. Like, I want to solve a problem. In our case, we wanted to solve the problem of homes being destroyed by hurricanes. But you need to solve a problem or find a way or try to work towards making the world a better place. And if you do that, I'm telling you that the money will take care of itself. Now, we'll talk a lot about money and profit and things like that because, again, in business, the only way you can grow and survive is if you make money. But it really all starts with why you're doing it. And you really have to ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? And then figure out the answer to that question. And again, I don't want to repeat myself, but if the goal is just to make a lot of money, it probably won't work. I was very lucky when we started building our company. I was in the right place at the right time, and our business started to develop and grow. And it wasn't easy because, like most businesses, we didn't have a lot of funding. Where I was, there was no DifferenceMaker program that gave you some seed cash. And although today I live a pretty nice life, when we started our business, I did not have a lot of money. I didn't have any money. I was probably less than having money, but we had to do it. And so we had to figure out a way of growing a business with no money. And so we did it, and the way we did it is we did it by becoming known as the experts in our business. It's a little different up here than down there, but every year down in most of Florida, at the beginning, like right around May, June, they have seminars in libraries and schools, and they teach people ways and things they should do to protect their families and their buildings and their houses from hurricanes. Well, we volunteered to be the spokesperson on how to protect your home from hurricanes. Now, part of the deal was we couldn't pitch a product. We could only give advice on how to protect homes from hurricanes. And we would go out 2 or 3 nights a week for the whole summer and talk about hurricane protection. And sometimes we'd go to a place, a school or a library, and it'd be 6. This would be a big crowd some nights. Sometimes it'd be hundreds and sometimes more people out there. But every single Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we would stop doing what we're doing and go out. We used to call it a hurricane dance. We'd go out and do a little dance on stage and try to teach people how to protect their homes from hurricanes. And that was, we really had no choice because we couldn't afford to put an advertisement in the newspaper. This was long before the internet, not the internet, but social media and Facebook and all those things. That wasn't an option in those days. And we certainly couldn't afford TV or any of those things here. So we would just go out and pitch our heart out at these seminars and tell people what they could do to protect their home. And then after the end of every program, they'd do a Q&A session, and we'd sit there and answer questions, and inevitably people would come out and say, hey, I have a house that is XYZ, or this is my first time spending a summer in Florida, and we would offer to come out and do home inspections for them at a very low cost to look at their house and then tell them how to protect their homes. And that's how we went out and got business. We got creative. We became known as the experts on ways of protecting your home. It used to be us. This would always be a meteorologist from some TV station, somebody from Lee County would be, because that's where we were based out of. Someone from emergency management would be there. Sometimes somebody from Red Cross would be there. And we'd go out and just talk to people about ways of protecting your homes. Nobody can be a better salesperson for your business than you. There is no ad that you'll ever buy that will be more effective than going out and pitching your heart out. And you have to do it because of the way we did it. We couldn't be very commercialized. We couldn't be, strong at pitching a product or something. That wasn't what we were told to do. We were just there to give information. And then if somebody came up afterwards and said, hey, can you come out and I got this weird house or I got this weird situation, can you out and tell us? And then we'd go out, and that's how we started our business. And then eventually we started to become a little bit more successful, and and go out, and then we could afford to do some TV and some newspaper eventually. But often what they would do in order to promote those events at the different high schools and libraries is the meteorologists, the TV stations would say, hey, come to Cape Coral High School and see our panel of experts, and they mention our name. That's how our name started to get out. And so what we would do, is I would work all day long trying to run our business, trying to get our business started. And Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for the whole summer, we'd go out and pitch this thing. And our business started to take off. We started to get a little busier. We still were only about a 4-person company, but we started to get a little busier. Then I remember one night, I was getting ready to go on talking. You got to know the other people who were giving these same talks, and this guy comes to me, he says, Brian, there's no way you can keep doing this, because I was working all day, and I was doing this hurricane dance all night, and I was doing it 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And he said, look, if you're just going too hard, too fast. I mean, that time, cell phones weren't quite what they are today. And I remember going through 2 cell phone batteries a day. I remember eating Rolaids like they were candy, and just pitching your heart out. He said, you really need to let somebody else help you. That time, we were a company of 4, me, 2 other guys, and this very nice lady who was basically our mother, and took care of everything in our company. And he said, if you keep doing this, you can't burn the candle at 2 ends. He said, you've got to get somebody else involved to take some of this pressure off you, or you're going to have a heart attack. And I said, well, I can't do that because I can barely afford to pay the bills that we have today. How am I going to afford to pay somebody else and do those things there? He said, well, you're just going to have to. If you put somebody else to duplicate some of the things you're doing or be the opposite of what you're doing, then your business can really grow, because we were just working too hard to really think about growing. And so what I did was I took this guy who was my sales guy, my only salesperson. So we got me, a salesperson, and an installer. That was our company, and the lady who did the administration. And I said, I talked him into coming to work for me and stop selling and become part of running the company, so that I could go out and do some other things. And it was such an amazing thing that happened. Is as soon as I let go of some of the things I was doing, our business went through the roof. I was very concerned about paying somebody else, because we were just barely making enough money to survive. But as soon as I got to do what I could do best, and I had somebody else do the other things, our business went through the roof. And I never had a problem paying him. Now, what I'm a big believer in business is there's 2 ways you can structure a business. One is with variable cost, and one is with fixed cost. If you tell somebody, I'm going to pay you the salary, and then you've got to figure out a salary that everybody agrees to, and that cost is fixed, and it stays there. Or you give them a variable thing, saying, okay, I'm going to give you 4% commission, or whatever that number is, and then it grows with you. Everybody wins, because as your business grows, they make more money too. And you're not having to renegotiate all the time, because it's always variable to your business. And then if things happen to slow down, then, okay, it adjusts itself down as well. I always thought a huge part of our success was because we tried to get everybody to have a piece of the action. It became part of our success. And so therefore, the bigger we grew, the better off everybody was. And so we were in it together. Where if I paid you a salary, you get paid a salary whether we do good or bad or however that works. And as we become more successful, I've got to keep negotiating that salary with you all the time. And then God forbid we have a bad quarter or a bad half a year, now what do? And so I was just a huge believer in variable costs. I do caution you that we have to be careful when you do that, because sometimes when you set goals, you never believe how big you can grow. I didn't mention this earlier, but we got successful. We were one of the fastest growing companies in the United States. 5 different times Inc. magazine picked StormSmart as one of the fastest growing privately held companies in the United States, 5 different times. So very, very few companies ever get honored by being named once. We got honored 5 different times of being a fast-growing company. We're one of the fastest-growing companies in the United States for over a decade. But with that comes all kinds of challenges. And going back to this variable cost thing, you have to be careful because, you know, when you agree to pay somebody, it's for easy of numbers, 10% of $100,000 is $10,000. 10% of $1 million is a whole lot of money. And you never want to have to go back and renegotiate later, because then all that trust goes away. So you have to have the ability to kind of keep that in mind, that how big can we grow, and when does this thing get renegotiated? Because the last thing as an owner of a business that you want to do is pledge to pay somebody something, and then find out you have to say, this isn't realistic anymore, and you've got to renegotiate, and it's just a terrible thing to have to do. So you really have to be cautious of how you do it. But we were just a huge believer in variable cost, things like that. One of the things that we did very, very early in the deal was we made a plan, and it was all part of building, and that was several of us came out of another company that wasn't necessarily a well-ran company before we started our company, and there was always a lot of fighting and argument, and it was somewhat self-destructive. We made a pledge to each other that we were always going to do the right thing, always. Always, always, always. No matter, we weren't, you know, there's a lot of things that happen in business where there's right and wrong, and then there's this gray area. Well, we knew we weren't going to do the wrong thing. I mean, I'm just a huge believer in fate. When you do good things happen, and when you do bad things happen, and I just couldn't have the heart to do bad things, so we always would just commit ourselves to doing the right thing. It would always be very simple when we made decisions at our company was, what is the customer's expectations? You know, as we grew, we started having sales teams, and people promised all kinds of crazy things, and you would have disagreements, but we always made our decisions, all decisions, and what was the right thing to do, and what was the customer's expectations. And it made life so easy because we didn't ever have to worry about what did we do there. It's always about what did the customer expect you to do. And that's how you made every decision. What was the customer expectations? You know, every so often you'd run into a customer who isn't sane or isn't legitimate or is trying to scam you in some way. But that's so infrequent. I just didn't buy that. We just always would say to the customer, whenever there'd be a dispute, we'd say to the customer, what did you think was going to happen? And then we would do it. We just never, we developed a zero tolerance to bad customer service. Does that mean that everything went right every single time? No, that's just not real life. But it does mean that we're going to satisfy that customer as long as they're reasonably sane. We're going to satisfy those customers every single time. Today, I'm proud to say that 62% of all the business StormSmart does today, did last year, did 5 years ago, 62% of all our business comes from referrals. It means we did somebody's mother, brother, sister, cousin, and they recommended us. And that's how you grow a business. You can't afford to buy new leads every single day. Depending on, obviously, what kind of business you're in, but we were in the consumer business, and we always thought the best way of growing a business was organically. 62% of every contract we sold last week, last month, last decade was because we did somebody's sister or brother or something like that. And I just thought that was the best way of growing a business, and it is probably the only successful way. because advertising costs money, new leads cost money, but we would do the right thing. And then it became really, really easy to teach our team how to do it, because it wasn't, we didn't play in the gray area. What is the right thing? What was the customer's expectations? That's how you answer the problem. And we would stand behind it. We would stand behind everybody. Now, I might have gone out and shot a few salesmen afterwards because they said crazy things and did things that, just weren't right. But we always satisfy the customer. And I would promise people when they come looking for a job, I would say, I promise you one thing. I promise you a couple things. One is it'll never be boring working for our company. And two is you never have to worry about selling your friends, your sister, your mother, your cousin, because we're going to do the right thing. Now, might not be on the first try because life doesn't go that way, but we would always take care of our customers. And that's how it continued to grow, and by doing those things there. I said earlier that we were part of Inc. magazine 5 different times, but one of the interesting things that you learn as you grow a business and you start growing fast, and Raj and Ray, they can tell you, you find out later that more companies die from indigestion than die from lack of business. Growth, not handled correctly, can kill you faster than anything else. Now, don't get me wrong, you want your company to grow. I come from a world that says, if your business isn't growing, you're going the other way, and I wasn't interested in going the other way. So we continue to grow, but it created its own challenges. Every time you look at software, or look at new programs, or look at a building, and you say, okay, that's gonna solve all of our problems. By the time you implemented that software, often it wasn't big enough for you. We went through trying to put an ERP together for our company, and I remember, because it took almost 2 years to do it, by the time when we first made the decision to buy this ERP, we thought it was a great decision. By the time, 18 months later, that we were really starting to get serious about instituting it, we were bigger than the company that created ERP. And they just didn't, it wasn't designed for the kind of business and the growth that we were having. So you have to, if you want to build a company that's a fast-growing company, and certainly that's the world that I live in, it just creates a lot of problems. It takes a lot. But the way you solve it is through planning. If you're going to start a business, if you were going to go from today, you decide, okay, I want to go to Las Vegas. You certainly wouldn't get in your car and just start driving. You would create a map, a road map on how you'd get there. Your business is no different. You must have a roadmap of how it's going to go. Now, I didn't have the luxury at that time of having a DifferenceMaker program or something like that there. So we had to figure out how to develop business plans. I always use this software called Business Plan Pro because it made you answer certain questions. But religiously, I would work on our business plan every single year. In our business, it's a little bit seasonal, and usually around the end of the year, Christmas, New Year's, our business really slowed down. Now, again, I told you we're a fast-growing company, but the one thing I was never able to do was figure out how to make it sexy to give your wife hurricane shutters for Christmas. Just naturally, we would normally slow down for those couple of weeks, 3 weeks at the end of the year, and we kind of wind down our marketing. I was just always big on, finishing everything up during the year and walking into New Year's Day or the day after New Year's Day, whatever day you come back to work, with as clean a slate as you could, and you start the year off that way. But what I would do when everybody else was taking a little break is I would write our business plan. And I would always start by looking at what I wrote last year and then say, okay, check, we did that well. Oh, forgot all about that. This one, oh, we got somewhere there. And now these new opportunities. Once you get going in your business, you're going to be so fixed on your day-to-day operations that you often forget about the strategy of running your business. And probably the most important thing about a business is to have some kind of strategy. And how are you going to, how do you expect others to know what to do if you don't know what to do? You've got to lead by example. As the leader of our companies, I always chose to be the leader, and I was going to lead. But if I'm spinning around in circles, how does anybody else know where to go? So it's so important that you know what you're doing. You have a strategic plan, and when we were not growing quite as quickly as I would spend some time working on it for those 2-week break there and work on our strategic plan. As we started getting busier and faster and things were going and it was more complex, I would work on it 2 times a year, usually sometime around June or July, and then again at the end of the year, and I would just continue to build this business plan. And as time moved on and we became a bigger company, I would share that business plan with our team. Because what's the secret? How are they gonna know where you're going if first of all, if you don't know and you don't share it with you? Then it turned out in the end, it worked out really well to share it with my bankers. And we'll get to it in the end. Eventually we sold our company, and it turned out a great piece to give to the people who were buying our business. So I had a 25-year-old business plan. Now, it changed and updated constantly, and it grew, and there was different parts that would come in and go out. But we work on that business plan. I can't tell you how important it is to do that. It's, we were busy and we were growing, and you wouldn't know whether you're winning or losing sometimes until it was too late. So, but by looking at that business plan every 6 months, I'd say, we wanted to do that. We had an opportunity to do this or that, and because of the heat of the battle, you would go. But you can't run a business of any size if you don't have a plan. You just have to have a plan. There's a saying that it comes in from hurricane protection, but it's true of everything. It says, fail to plan, plan to fail. You have to have a plan to do that. Now, in the beginning, it might be a 1-pager, but as time moves on, it's going to be, it'll get more involved. And then that's the time you reflect and say, okay, what new opportunities, what new products, what new this, new that you could do that. I was speaking again about growth, and when you grow, when you start your business and it starts to grow, it's so important that everybody is on the same page. There's no way that you're going to be successful if your team doesn't know which direction you're going. And I said to you earlier that we had a 0 tolerance to bad customer service. Well, that didn't all happen automatically. I remember a time, because we were somewhat in the construction business too, and right after Hurricane Charlie, our business had really, really taken off, and we were just growing, sometimes 200, 300, 400% a year. And we were hiring people, as long as they had a pulse and maybe showed up on time once in a while, we would hire them. And because you just needed that in order to keep it. We had so much demand for our products, and you didn't know how long it was going to last, so we just kept selling. But then all of a sudden, things weren't going so well. We were not getting jobs done quickly. We started having some cash flow issues. We started having some different issues, and we had just expanded a lot. And I remember one day going to lunch with the guy that I hired to be my vice president, and we were driving down the street. We saw one of our trucks, and we looked at it, and we didn't know the person who was driving the truck. We didn't know if he stole the truck, he worked for us, who was this person driving down the road in one of our trucks? And then it hit me. I said, how could they possibly know what we stand for if we don't even know who they are? How can they be singing the song and representing us the way we want them to if they didn't even know who I am and didn't even know what the company stood for? So we put the brakes on at a time when we really had an opportunity to continue to grow, and went back and really got to know our people. That's when we developed our mission statement, our vision statement, all those things there, and really looked at the DNA of our company and tried to get everybody to understand. We started a policy that said we paid everybody every week, that either I or my vice president would hand out the checks in person to everybody on Thursday afternoons, because we wanted to get to know them, so that we could know who was who, and we could talk to them and hear and understand who they were, and more importantly, they understood who we were and what we were trying to do. Because again, we're not there to make a lot of money, we're there to solve a problem. And if they don't know that, how are they gonna accomplish it? So we put the brakes on, developed a mission statement, developed a vision statement, and really started to get back. We went back and we fixed a lot of jobs that we weren't proud of at a time when we really could have been making more money, but I thought it was absolutely imperative that we went back and got everybody to understand what we did. From that day forward, we were never more successful than we were then. Because I told you earlier, 60% of our business, 62% of our business comes because of referral-based business. Well, if you don't do your job, the first job correctly, you ain't getting to refer all of those people, and you've got to do that. And so that's what became so important. I'm a huge believer in the business plan, and you just have to have a plan. So regardless of your business, whatever you're doing, you have to have a strategy. And it's just a great thing to go back to every so often and look at it and see, did we do the things we thought we were going to do? Why didn't we do it? Did it work out? Why didn't it work out? Those are the things, are we winning, are we losing? Losing's there. Now, this might come as a shock to you, but I'm kind of like a sales guy. And I really believe that sales is the real solution. I believe, and there's lots of different ways of looking at things, but sales will get you out of almost any problem you ever get into. And the opposite is even more true. Without sales, you really have a problem. Without sales, everything starts when somebody sells something. Everything. And so you really have to concentrate on selling. Nothing will kill a company faster than a lack of sales. But then one thing I learned as time moved on is you really start being successful when you stop chasing cash flow and start chasing profit. Your business must make a profit. Now, in the beginning, you want to get business going, but business at any price is not a good idea. It will get you in more trouble and cause you to have a bigger problem. You want to sell, but you want to sell profitably. You will learn that people will pay for quality. There's this whole world out there that's in a race to sell the least expensive everything. And that simply is a race through the bottom. You cannot grow a business and be the least expensive company in your industry. It just doesn't work. There's a thing that says sales, service, or price. You pick two. You can't have all three. You can't have the lowest price, the best service, and the best sales. It just doesn't work. You need to make money in your business. If you don't make money, how are you going to service your customers? How are you going to grow? How are you going to do all those things you're doing? So sales is solution to all problems, but profitable sales is essential to your lifeblood. You have to make money. You have to understand what your business costs are, what your overhead is, what your insurances cost, what all those things cost, and then have a markup and profit on top of it. If you don't do that, you'll be just doing cash flow. And it's just a never-ending, it's like the dog chasing its tail. It's a never-ending cycle, and it will just become a problem. You have to understand what your costs are and make a profit. Another thing that we did a lot is because we weren't interested in being the lowest priced anything. Because as I just said, that whole low price thing is a race to the bottom. And we were, in our industry, most companies had 10 people, 15, maybe 20 people. For well over almost 17 years, we had over 100, and most of the time we had over 200. Now we have over 300 people in there. And because of our size, everything costs us more money. Our workman's comp in the last few years that we were in business was far bigger than probably most companies' revenue just to pay workman's comp. So you couldn't give away things for free. So what we would do is we would use innovation. We constantly, continuously, always worked on trying to make our products better, either through technology and figuring out ways of being able to produce it more efficiently, or changing it so that it's something got a little more sizzle to it, or a totally different product. I told you, and I was introduced as someone who manufactures hurricane shutters, and that's absolutely the truth. But I'll also tell you that there were very few ads that we ever ran in our life that ever mentioned hurricane protection. We talked about a lifestyle. It turned out that that fabric that we use to protect homes against hurricanes had a better solar heat gain coefficient than most windows that are on the market today. And so we figured out that you would sell this thing because it would save energy. Hurricanes are odd things. They're terribly destructive when they happen, but you never know if they're going to happen. So you can't let something you have no control over be your major influencer and demand for your product. It's just not a smart thing to do. You don't have any control of it. What I did know was that every year you were going to get an energy bill. And every year that energy bill was going to be higher than the year before, almost historically. And so we figured out that our product would not only protect you against hurricanes, but it would save energy. It would add living space to your home. It would do all these other things that protect against solar and different things like that. So we found other features for our products how we market it. And that way, we weren't in the hurricane protection business. We didn't have to live and die whether it was a hurricane or not. And so by having it and knowing that it would also save energy, it qualified for certain other credits that the government offer you. And this thing here on the wall doesn't look much different than our hurricane shutters. Really, if you go to Stormwatch's website, you see it. It looks a lot like that right there. And so it can be used as a solar shade. And we would sell it to governments for solar shade. But my point of this is that we always continued and constantly worked on trying to improve our products, trying to find other markets for our products, and that was our commitment. And so when there's different ways you can grow a business, sometimes you can try to do it by patenting and blocking everybody else out. And there was a whole story I could tell you about patent law, and I've shared before. We would try to get patents on our products, but we would never use that to try to protect it. We always wanted to innovate our way past that. I figured that by the time somebody knocked off our product that did this, we would be over there doing a product that does that. And we constantly innovated and developed our products. Our product started out being something that was like a boat canvas. You put on your boats and put eye bolts through it and things like that. Today, you use your phone, press an app, and everything starts working automatically. And it rolls up and down. It's super convenient, and it's used for so many other things. But my point of that is you continue to innovate. Now, innovating products is kind of a wild thing, and it's a lot of fun to do. But I'll tell you, some of the products I thought were going to be the biggest home run never sold. And some of the products I didn't think were going to be successful sold forever and ever. And so it's not about what you think, it's what your customers think. But you don't know that unless you continue to develop products. I will tell you that I'm totally convinced that people pay for quality. They don't. Our customers were a little different because they were kind of more affluent. And I would always tell the story when people would say, "Well, you're the most expensive person in that market." And I'd say, "Well, we want to stand behind our product. We want to do things here." And I'd tell the story. I'd say, this all happened. I figured this a long time ago. When you have a child sooner or later that child is going to want to learn how to ride a bike. And you say to the child, let's go, get together, get in the car, and drive to the bike store and get your helmet. And so you walk into the bike store, and there's this whole wall of helmets. And the guy or girl says, which helmets do you want? We have $100 helmets, $50 helmets, $20 helmets, and $5 helmets. What value do you put on your child's brain? Do you think they sell many $5 helmets? And it's the same thing. Who would ever buy the cheapest seatbelt? We were in the hurricane protection business. Why would you want to buy the least expensive hurricane protection? It doesn't make sense. And so we use that as a logic in a thing to help people sell things. And it worked out that well. I'll tell you, and this kind of gets back to sort of what I'm doing here. I said to you earlier that I'm one of the luckiest people that you'll ever meet. And I really, truly believe that is true. And people who know us kind of know that too. I mean, I'm here talking to you guys today. That's a pretty cool thing to do. But it wasn't always easy. And it was a time when we were in business, where things were starting to really, really crank up and starting to grow. But we were just starting. And then one day I remember waking up, and I've told this story a few times already up here. I woke up one day, went to work, and opened the mail up, and it was this huge envelope. And I think, what the heck is this? Opened it up, and I looked inside, and it was a cease and desist order from somebody I never even knew. I didn't even know who they were. And they were claiming the product, our storm catcher screen, was infringing upon a patent they had put together. I didn't even know who they were, but we had to take this thing seriously. So we eventually hired an attorney out of Miami who was a patent attorney. And first of all attorneys are expensive. If you ever have to deal with a patent attorney in a legal battle, you'll really realize how expensive they are. This fight went on for over 2.5 years. And in the end, we would spend over $2 million on legal fees for something that was totally not, it wasn't fair. We invented it, I can prove I invented it, but I learned that there's this whole career. It's called patent jumping. And they're just people who look around for people who have patents or didn't file patents or ideas, and they would go and try to file a patent on top of yours and try to claim that you could do it. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to see how much money you have, and they're going to they're going to make you spend so much time and money that you end up settling with them just to get rid of them, just to keep them moving. And so it was awful, and it went on for a while at a time when we really could grow. And it was just causing all kinds of problems, and we were in debt far greater than I could ever imagine. I remember going to work one day, again getting the mail, open up an envelope from my attorney, and the bill for, it was the month of March, bill for that month was $113,000 for 1 month's worth of legal bills. I told you before, I didn't have any money when we started this business, and we were just starting to grow this business, and I sure didn't have $2 million to spend on legal fees or $113,000 to pay for a month's worth of legal fees. It was awful. It was causing tremendous problems for me, my company. I was spending all my time, 2/3 of my time, working on legal stuff. Because you can't say other words. You know, that had to do with something that was completely wrong. And our business was, and this was at a time when our company was small and I was absolutely the driving force. And I didn't know what to do. And then I remember one morning when things were really, really dark, getting up and watching the news. And I watched this local news, and there was a story on TV about this woman who lived in the same town, which is a smaller town that I lived in, who was taking care of her elder brother. And they were having tough times. They were in such a bad strait that they couldn't even pay their water bill. And so the city shut their water off. And I thought, what an awful thing in the world we live in today. how can somebody not have water to brush your teeth or take a shower, do any of those things there? I mean, it was just a terrible thing. And I knew some people at the TV station, so I called up and said, look, I don't want any part of this to be on TV. Just tell me who this lady is and what I can do to help him. And so they told me. Later that day, I walked down to her house, and she needed $127 to pay her water bill. And so I gave her the $127, and it was so emotional, it was crazy. But she got her water turned back on, and life was somewhat better for her. And it just made me feel so really, really good. Later that night, we went and had dinner. In the evening, while we were getting ready to have dinner, my phone rings, and it's my very expensive IP attorney from Miami. And he says, hey, Brian, you sitting down? And I said, yeah, I'm eating. I'm sitting down. And he said, I didn't want to tell you this, but for the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at your lawsuit, and one of the charges in your law case had to do with false advertising. They were claiming that some of the pictures on our website were actually their pictures. And that's covered by your liability insurance. And so your insurance company has agreed to pick up all your legal expenses and pay your legal expenses going forward. So all of a sudden, I went from being basically out of business to getting made whole, and all of our legal costs going forward were covered. And their whole strategy of papering us to death so we couldn't keep up with their legal fees was over. Now they were fighting against the insurance company. Now, I'm not going to be here to tell you that 2 + 2 = 4. But things like that have happened in my life more often than not. And that's why one of the many reasons why we give back to this university and others like it. Because I truly believe when you give back with the right reason in your heart, great things happen. And so, while we're taking a little break, we have some superstars in our audience now. All of a sudden, I don't know if they thought there was free food here or not, but Dean Richtemeyer and Dr. Fudo, we're all here too. But, so that's when we started to really get involved in giving back. And I will tell you, once we started doing that, my life only got better and better. And I will tell you, giving back is one of the most amazing things in the world. Every time we've given to something for the right reason, with the right heart, it's come back to us in multiple times. I said to you earlier that I'm one of the luckiest people you ever meet. And I truly am. I get to live an amazing life. I have a house in Cape Cod. I have a house in Florida. I get to travel a lot pre-COVID and do all these things. I get to come here and talk to people like you guys, and that's pretty cool. And so, but I really, really believe it's because of our commitment to giving back. So about 4 years ago, we decided that we would think about selling our company. Business, life, everything runs in cycles. And we had a different guy in DC, in Washington at that time, and the economy was really cranked up. But I know that the economy goes in cycles. And I know that a cycle could be 5 years, 7 years in between cycles. And we were up near the top. And I was getting to an age that if we missed this cycle and I waited for it to recover again, I'd be considerably older, and there's no guarantee how long you get to stay healthy in this place. So we started putting a plan together to sell our company. And we spent about 2 years putting together a plan, getting our books in order, getting our strategic plan, getting the right people in place, and we started to market our company. But because the size of our company, we weren't going to sell it, locally to somebody. We were looking at it. At that point, we had over 200 people employed. So what we did is we found an investment banking company. We chose R.W. Baird, which is one of the largest in the country, and helped us put together a plan to sell our company. And so we went through all the steps. They go over your financials like no tomorrow. They go over your strategic plans, our business plan that I've been working on for all those years, and really look at it, and it just has to be clean. It has to be right. And we worked with them for about 6 months, and then they said, okay, we're going to send out an invitation to see if anybody's interested in your company. And they have a book of investment companies, mostly private equity companies, who are looking to buy businesses. And the first time around, we had 137 companies sign NDAs that wanted to get more additional information on our company. And then we went through talking to them all and weeding each other out, and it continued to get smaller. Then it was down to about 13 companies that we actually met and gave management presentations to. And I'll tell you, you're not going to fool these people. They are smart people. And they look through everything you give them, looking for anything that doesn't match up. So it's got to be right. It's got to be clean. It's got to be right. Your financials have got to be right. Your whole projections, your management team, everything has got to be right. And do that. And we went through this whole process. And this was just when COVID was starting to wind down. And eventually, we got down to 2 companies, let them bid against each other for a little while. And then one day, a year ago, last November, December, we reached a deal. And it turned out that this company wanted my company more than I wanted the company any longer. And they paid us more money than I ever dreamed of. And today we get to live the life that we do. And Health University and all the other things that we do. But what started out was 2 or 3 of us just looking for something to do, turned into a company that was far bigger than I could ever imagine. And honestly, we got paid far more than we ever did. But more importantly, the people who bought our company believed in the culture of our company, and today our company is doing better than they ever have. And they kept virtually every single employee, including me, and went ahead and kept building the company. Now, today, I'm still employed by that company, but I don't get involved in their day-to-day operations. I just work as an advisor to it. But the employees are happier. It's growing greater. They're having more sales, more revenue. And it just worked out that it was just like a match just made it at the altar. You hear all these horror stories about people buying companies and tearing them apart. That was nothing like what happened to us. We hit a grand slam. I think the people I said to you earlier, I got to work with an awesome team of people, and that's extremely true. But I think the people who work there today are happier. They probably make more money. Everything's better with these new people now than it was ever before. And it's just, and they're doing better, and the company, who knows where it'll end up. I mean, I will tell you, just to give you some general ideas, when I left, we were getting close to $100 million a year in revenue. Next year, they'll probably be closer to $250 million a year in revenue. So they've grown it significantly. But more importantly, they kept that DNA and they keep it on. So but my point of saying this to you is, someday you want to build an exit plan for your business, but you've got to start with the fundamentals at the very, very beginning and build a strong foundation, because it just all keeps going. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but again, I'm a truly lucky person. We, with some of the money we took out of the sale, we created a foundation, and it's helped the DifferenceMaker program and the Dean's program and several other programs that we really, really care about, with the idea of we're trying to make the world a better place. I don't tell many people this, but actually I teach this story at a school in Florida, FGC in Florida, about, it's called Scaling Lean, and I share this basic story in more of a curriculum type of thing, and going there, and I get to do cool things like this, like come up here and talk to you guys, which is really cool. I truly believe that the life you lead is all about the lessons you get to teach. So I'm more than happy to do this because hopefully some of this helped you or interests you. I mean, nobody threw anything, so it's not too bad, and teach you something along the way. But as you go through your journey, that you think about the same thing, because I am blessed and I am lucky, but I really believe it started out right across the street from here, and the lessons I started learning here. Thank you for your time. I probably talked a lot longer than I should have, but anybody got any questions? You can't ask any questions. It's nothing to it, it's easy. I do want to say that to you. One of the things I wanted to share a little bit more about it was starting a business and growing a company is a huge commitment in time. I've never figured out how to do it part-time and be successful. It's been extremely rewarding, fun, exciting, humbling. But, I don't know, 25 years, I work day and night, at least 6 days a week, and normally 7, part-time. I didn't always go into my office. But it takes a serious commitment to grow a business, especially if you want to grow one that's growing fast, it's successful. It's all consuming. Now, I was very proud of what we did, so it made working that hard very easy. But it's something that is super encompassing, and I happen to have a wife who kind of liked me more out of the house than bugging her or something. I don't know what it was, but she, she would let me go out, and so I not only worked in our business, but I got very involved in the community and all different things, because you never know where you're going to get customers from. You never know where you're going to get employees from. You're always out trying to make the world a better place. So it's been an extremely rewarding trip, but I put a lot of hours in. There was no, this is the first time I'm up here in Cape Cod. Now, this is the first time in 30 plus years where I don't really have to do too much. And so, but for 30 years, I did it. Pretty much, even when you're on vacation, you still got to worry about everything. We have 250 employees. There's always something happening. But if you love what you're doing, I can tell you that in those 7 years that I ran that company, I never had a problem getting up in the morning going to work. I loved doing what I did. Questions? Well, thank you for your time. Good luck. Okay. Yeah.
Did you intend to build shutters?
No, not really. No, it really, what happened was, I was living on the east coast of Florida, in South Florida, when Hurricane Andrew happened. I was working for a garage door company, overhead door, and I saw the tremendous destruction that was caused by Andrew. And I dealt with, for 18 months, we dealt with trying to rebuild South Dade after Hurricane Andrew. And I just saw the problems that were created. And the first product we brought to market was a product called a garage door brace that we sold to Home Depot and a few others, and developed that product to try to strengthen garage doors. We took what was the weakest opening in the house and we made it into the strongest opening. And that was the first product we brought to market. And that's what really kind of led to this whole product development thing. Hurricane shutters just kind of fell in line. That wasn't my objective going in.
Okay. But you saw a weakness and you wanted to make it into a strength.
Yep. We saw a problem, the destruction caused by Andrew, and we looked for solutions to fix that, so hopefully it would never happen again. We also got involved with helping them design the building codes and things like that, because you got to make sure that you don't get legislated out of business. So you need to be involved in the different laws and rules that affect your industry. And so we got involved in helping develop, that time it was the Dade Broward Building Code, and then eventually it was the Florida Building Code, and that's how we got to be more involved in the whole thing.
Brian, I have a question.
Sure.
Did you bootstrap most of your business? Did you eventually get outside investments? How did that all work?
No.
For growth?
No, we bootstrapped all of everything. It had to be cash flow. I had a friend who lent me a small amount of money that we eventually paid back, but it was like $25,000. It was all organically grown until about a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years in, finally a bank gave us a credit line of $100,000, and then we started to roll. But we had to be a low budget. There was a long time when we first started our business that my wife's waitressing job supported our family, and we funded it ourselves. The money that we had to come from our business all the way through it. Eventually, once we started getting it going, we could deal with banks and things like that. But we had to cash flow our business the whole way through it. And that's when you really understand business real hard, when you have to cash flow it. Because you don't realize how quickly Fridays come every week. And one thing you knew you had to do was pay your employees. And one of the things I'm most proud of is we owned our business for 27 years and we never missed a Friday. Now, there were many weeks in the beginning where I didn't get paid, but you have to pay your employees. And you have to pay your insurance. You have to pay certain things. And so you have to cash flow your way. We used to, it's a funny story. When we were first starting out, we were very small, and we would have to sell something in order to make payroll. And I had this one guy who was a sales guy with us, and he wore this green shirt one Wednesday, and then again on Thursday, and he got a nice big deal. So we made a commitment that I still do to this almost every day, is we always wore green on Thursdays, because we never wanted to break that lucky streak of making payroll. Silly things you do. But, so it was, I had a guy who gave me a little bit of money when times were really, really dark. And, I didn't really say this, and I always say this to, I don't think I said this. One of the most important things that you can remember that somebody taught me, the same guy who gave me the $25,000, and he said this to me, and I tell this to Raj, and if you go to her business, it's on her wall. It says, businesses don't fail, people quit. And what that means to me is if I went to work every single day and never quit, my business wouldn't fail. And that turned out to be more than true. And today, it's a huge business. Businesses don't fail, people quit. So if you don't quit, your business will never fail. Thank you for your time.
I have one
sure.
more question. So you talked about those dark days.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, all these students pursuing their ideas are going to go through that as well. Is there any advice for how to, still have motivation, still see forward and see through those dark days?
Absolutely. There will be dark days. And the word that I always told myself and told others is tenacity. You can never quit. If you don't quit, your business will survive. The sun will come out tomorrow. But even when it became the darkest days, if you're doing the right thing, good things will happen. You got to if you start having a lot of bad luck, you got to start thinking about maybe why is that happening? Because again, I'm just a huge believer in fate. But the sun will come out tomorrow. You just got to get up and swing the bat. There's a thing I think it was Michael Jordan said, or here's the Jack Nicklaus says, the more I practice, the luckier I got. The more, and you just got to know things like that. The more you miss 100% of the shots you never take. You just got to be tenacity. You got to be tenacious about it, and just go to work and keep trying and keep trying. You swing the bat, and sooner or later you hit the ball. There will be dark days. And sometimes it's not your fault. I mean, you got the economy's kind of messed up right now, and you got different laws that are put in place and crazy rulings sometimes. But if you do the right thing, good things will happen. I just can't say that enough. When you do good things will happen. And that will do. But it doesn't happen if you don't get up in the morning and try.
Awesome.
Okay? Thank you.